and have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. Now, reprove there is another way of saying expose or publish or post. And as Christians, followers of the Lord Jesus, we are commanded to expose evil. We're told to uncover it for both the people who are outside of the faith and for fellow believers who either can't discern the evils of this life or who can see these evils, but they're too afraid to really absorb it so that they have to make a change in their life. They're going with the flow, as they say. And you'll notice a lot of lost folks, people who will openly admit that they're not followers of Christ, that they're not Christians, they are, or they can put a finger on the evils of things like Hollywood and of powerful celebrities, politicians. Right now, as I'm speaking in August 2025, something called the Epstein list that people are making a big deal about. No matter what side of the quote unquote political aisle that they claim, they're talking about this thing. They're talking about celebrities selling their soul to the devil and stuff like that, when they don't really believe in the devil as described by the Bible. But they know there's a such thing as evil. But these lost folks, they still are transfixed by these people that they're quote unquote exposing. Why can't they quit being entertained? You can see that they are vexed, but they still want the entertainment. They still want the political distraction. They still want the perverted celebrities singing songs to them. People who are sometimes devil worshippers, these entertainers, they're openly about it sometimes. Or they may just mix Christ in with their devil worship. But the lost people who are looking at this, they know something is evil about it. And they're trying to expose these evils, but they still want entertainment. It's a great confusion. It's a great spiritual deception that's on people right now. Because these people are still rejecting Christ. They're still rejecting the truth of the Bible. They're rejecting Jesus Christ, the way, the truth, and the life. They're against what the Bible says they're supposed to do. But they know what the truth is. So they're very stirred up and mixed up about these things. And sometimes friends of mine in the Christian faith, we trade videos, trade information about the lost and perishing world, about the systems of this world and those kind of things. Knowledge, information, all these deceptions that we're all subject to. We've all been tricked on some level. Even those of us who can kind of see it and want to get away from it, nobody comes into this life knowing everything. Whether you're saved or lost, you and your family are subject to a lot of these deceptions. Sin is in the land. The devil's got control of all the systems of this world. Luke chapter 4 right there. The devil told Jesus that all the kingdoms of this world belong to him. They've been given to him. The Lord himself, the Father in heaven, gave the devil these things in his hand for many reasons. You really can't get out of it in some way. You can avoid some stuff, but you can't avoid everything. We still got to live here, even if we're aware of what's going on. The only way out of this at the end of it is going to be through Christ. That's the only door. Just knowing about these things is not going to help you. We've talked about that many times on this platform and this ministry before. So as we're talking, as I said, I'm over 20 years deep into this whole thing of the quote unquote exposed videos and blog posts and all this stuff. Exposed. And I always make fun of that. I make a mockery of that because they'll put the title in the videos in capital letters all the time. Exposed. So-and-so exposed. Hollywood exposed. Chicken salad exposed. The water and the soil being poisoned. Exposed. They just keep going on and on. Food industry exposed. And it's supposed to make you go, oh, I'm shocked now. Oh, I know something. What am I being tricked about? I gotta find out about this. I gotta find out what's going on. And so you go and study all this stuff. You watch all the videos. You see all this stuff. I'm not against that. But at a certain point, you're, as they say, in a rabbit hole. And what happens is you get to this point where you are saturated with all this information or trivia. Look again at Daniel chapter 12, which we reference very often here. Even to the time of the end, many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. Now, the increase or gathering of knowledge isn't necessarily a good or profitable thing overall. That's where a lot of people get it twisted. Again, the only way out is Jesus Christ. The only way out is salvation, as described by our Bible. You got to accept the gospel. You can know all the filthy things that are going on in the government, for example, and still end up in the lake of fire. You got to understand that. Sometimes heaping up all this information is going to lead you to just becoming discouraged and bitter. The bitter truth. You're just going to become vexed. Now, I'm a living example of this. Like I said, I'm a few decades into this, and I had to go through a lot with you're soaking up all this information. It's like a sponge. After a while, it's like the sponge can only absorb so much, and the water's just going to start running out of it. You got to let it dry up a little bit and take some more in. But again, the gathering of the knowledge is not what's going to save you. It's not a saving knowledge. You just got to believe me on this. At some point, as you're learning all these things about the world and how wicked it is, and the world is wicked. This is an evil or untoward generation. At some point, it's going to become a matter of diminishing returns. It's like if you're a drunkard, at first it's going to take a few drinks to satisfy you or get you to that point of intoxication. But after you keep doing that, you're going to need more and more drink to the point that your eyeballs are floating and you have to consume that alcohol until you're ill all the time, even when you're not drinking it and you need it, quote unquote. And finally, you're just going to destroy yourself on a lot of levels. That's the kind of example I'm using because you feel like you're in the know because Google or whatever AI engine you're standing upon is feeding you all this trivia. And it could be that partly you feel superior as a result of this flood of information, and you're going to accept that it's largely true. I mean, there is some truth to this information that, even these engines, these search engines are giving you the evils of this world. It's telling you what's going on. The devil is telling you what's going on. He knows the time is near now. So he's telling you what's going on through the computer, basically, through the devices. Because he knows that his time is short. And it's kind of too late to do anything about it. It always was too late to do anything about these things. But now it doesn't matter if you know. It doesn't matter if you know that child trafficking is going on. It doesn't matter that you know that Hollywood is of the devil. That was already there. This has been going on since there's been people. Entertainment's been wicked the whole time. The politicians have been wicked the whole time. The systems of this world, money systems, all that. It's been wicked the whole time. Now, all the information about it is just pouring out on everybody. So everybody's vexed and just, oh man, the world is just messed up. Yes, it is. What are you going to do about it? What is watching another video about it going to do for you? You must be born again. Remember that most of you listening or watching right now, you're going to tell people who ask you a question, what are you going to say? And just Google it. As you look at that person with a condescending expression, you're thinking, how dumb is this person? Doesn't he know he can just ask the machines, the fallen angel technology? Meanwhile, you're being deceived by it. You're just being distracted by it, if not deceived. The computer is not always correct. Remember, we were saying that Google can always give you a result, but is it going to give you the result, the correct result? It's always going to give you an answer. You know something's wrong. You know that it's not perfect. And so you're going to begin to get angry that you're being lied to on so many levels, on high levels, higher than any government that you can get access to and know about. This is a spiritual thing. And so I went through this thing going back to the early 2000s when I was first really waking up to a lot of stuff. I've said it before, 9/11, what they call September 11, towers coming down, all that stuff. Something about that event snapped me awake on a lot of, this is before the words being woke and all that stuff is even being used. And I came awake on a lot of things because of that event. Like, it was a domino effect for me, starting from then. It was even before then, if I can be real. But something about that kind of accelerated me into, man, this world is really wicked. I was very angry back then. I had a few years of thinking, this is how the world really is. This is how wicked everything is. We're really being lied to on these levels, right to our face. Yeah, it makes you angry. Just from a child, from a baby, you're being lied to. As soon as you're born, they rush you out of the room and jab you with a bunch of stuff. And take something from you or the mother or whatever. That happens. It starts from right then. They want to get you on a sugar and salt from day one. No, don't drink the mama's milk. Drink this formula. Right then. The deception starts right then. You're being lied to. You're being tricked. You're being poisoned. You're being sent in the wrong direction. Yeah, but blaming people is really a waste of time. It's Ephesians 6, verse 12. This is a spiritual battle. Don't concentrate on flesh and blood. This is why everybody's mad at Trump, or they're mad at Obama, or they're mad at rich people, or they're mad at poor people, or they're mad at immigrants. They're mad at all. You're looking at the wrong thing. Stop looking at people. This is deeper than people. This is a spiritual battle that we're in, a spiritual war that we're in. So all the information and all the knowledge of what's going on, at the end of it, what is it going to profit you? We're talking about salvation here. John 14:6, the way, the truth, and the life. Jesus said he is the way, the truth, and the life. That's the only thing, that's the only the bottom line there is. Are you saved or are you lost? Doesn't matter what you look like or where you fall politically or how much money you have, how much knowledge you have, how many possessions you have. All of that is irrelevant. What gender you are, what gender you think you are. Are you saved or are you lost? If whatever knowledge you have does not help you in that way, the knowledge ultimately is useless, it's worthless. I shouldn't say it's worthless or useless in some ways, because it can help you and your family avoid a lot of things like bad food or being healthy in other ways than just food, avoiding a lot of evil and those kind of things. It can help you in those ways while we're living in this flesh and this life. But if you are not saved, it's not, all that's not going to matter. Yeah, you live very healthy. You avoided Hollywood. You weren't deceived by the politicians. You were very smart. You saw all the deceptions. You saw right through them. You just lived out on the land somewhere. You didn't even want near any Wi-Fi, so no waves were hitting you. You did all these things. You got your own water and collected it, made it clean. Great, but you're still lost. What are you going to do? You're still going to be cast into the lake of fire. You must be born again. You've got to start there.